This video is just to show how I'm composting in situ in these metre square beds underneath these green roof planters. So what I've done here, I had some rough compost and I was just trying to build this area up. It used to be a pathway, so there's lots of wood chip here. I think I took out some of the topsoil, topped up the beds with it, and then this was left low, so what I did is just put organic matter down, put some sort of branches from Christmas trees and things like that to infill. I've got some railway sleepers here as a retainer as well, so you can see it's raised up quite a bit. And then I've got these plastic link board edgings. So because it's kind of uncertain if I'm going to keep this allotment, and I've invested so much time and labour in building up these composts and this compost and the raised beds, what I'm trying to do here is it's quite strange because if you see just to my right, you've got the apiary, and there's 2'6" wide path here. And then I've got my raised beds, and then I had a small concrete block path here. But the actual line of the allotment is where this scaffold board is here. So that's actually the edge of the allotment, and then this part belongs to the beekeeper's apiary plot. So it's actually two separate plots. I wasn't aware of that, and at one point I previously had a path here which is quite wide, had a composting area to the right where the path is now, and I spent a long time just reinstating that as they wanted it. But now it turns out, you can see the next plot there, they've got a 4-foot wide fence there, so they've actually moved it across. So the paths and the beds are out of sync really. But what I wanted to do here, I've got a number of these pallet collars, and I'm trying to reduce the amount of materials I need to move on the plot, so I can take it over to the school in a slightly less panicked method really. I didn't want to have to do it all at once and just not know where to start. So I'm trying to sort of downscale, do it piecemeal, bit by bit. So the only, well, I was going to say the only issue, but there's a few issues, and one of them, I'm still composting the brewer's waste. And because that's such a good resource, I wanted to carry on doing that as long as I can, because if it turns out I've got 3 more months, 4 more months or whatever, it's just being able to compost that much more material. And then when I move over to school, I can either get whatever vans, I've got contacts with vans and things, we can just take over more of that material and make a big difference to the school garden. So I think it's worth doing. And where I've composted the brewery waste on the allotment plot, it's been really successful. But what I wanted to show you here, this is a mix of wood chip and brewery waste. The wood chip is mainly from pine trees, so you can see some recognisable pine needles in there. It's looking quite dark, and there's already a good number of worms in there. You can see I've just disturbed this a little bit just to see what was going on. But I've been really impressed by composting actually underneath the green roof planters. And you can see that is fairly fresh brewery waste, and it's got a moderate bit of heat in it, but it's not sufficiently deep to actually cause an issue with the worms. So they're finding cooler areas in there, and you can see there's lots of bacteria and mould growing on that brewery waste. But what I'm going to do here, the plastic link boards actually belong to Bonita, so I'm going to remove those and stack those on their plot so they're out of the way. And then I'm going to transfer the wooden pallet collars here and make a raised bed. I've got a number of those, so I can actually do 2 courses high. And initially what I'm going to do is just carry on putting the brewery waste on here, and then build this up as a massive big worm bed. So you can see you've got the brewer's waste here, which is quite warm, but in that layer immediately above it you've still got worms. So this is only 2 weeks old, so there's no age in that at all. If you put that in a sufficient volume, it would generate lots and lots of heat. It would be around about 50, 60, 65 degrees Celsius, but because it's spread out in a sort of controlled over a large amount of area, the actual volume of that material is quite low. What I'm doing here is just mixing it in a little bit. You don't need to do this, you don't need to aerate it, there's no real benefit. But I just want to sign it on camera, just see if you can see the worms working in there. But what I have noticed is that the planters themselves, the compost is really black, really friable, and it's obviously got a lot of worm activity in it, so it's really good. And I've been impressed by having the containers on top. I think that contact with the root growth and the biology in the soil in the containers, it really does benefit how fast this material breaks down. And even you can see some of these some of these sedums are already rooting into that material, even it's just 2 weeks old. So it just goes to show how effective this is. And you can see the root growth on these is superb. There's another one there. So it's yeah, what is quite nice about this is you can kind of compost, and you're not, yeah, you see the worms down here. You're not losing out on a lot of space taken up by the compost bins and things. So actually literally growing straight on top. Yeah, you can see a couple of dozen worms down here. And it's already black. It looks almost like compost. It's quite amazing, really. And what I like to do as well is, yeah, you can see these worms are full of energy. And over winter as well, that's going to have a little bit of heat in it, so that really make for a nice habitat. You can see how lively these worms are. It's all moving about. So that's my plan for today. If I can kind of get rid of all the plastic edgings, get the some of my link boards there, at least I don't have to worry about transporting them or storing them or moving the food.